We artists always know that the most important thing in our lives is our art. Everything else becomes second, everything. That is one of the definitions of being a practicing artist. Except sometimes it isn't. I was about to find that out. In 1994, I held a big exhibition in America and in South Africa. And it was called White Man's Tales. Here's a catalogue for it. And you've seen some of the pictures in it, for instance this one of the Voortrekker monument there, and the one of the also of Wounded Knee, the Sioux Nation in Lakota Sioux one, and also another one you've seen which is the Tales from the South China Sea. And I'll just read out what it's about so you have a rough idea what a critic wrote about it. They said the title is intentionally provocative. In vast photocollages composed of stills from video footage shot in East and Southeast Asia, South Africa and the Lakota Sioux Reservation at Wounded Knee, South Dakota, Vaughan Grills brings us face to face with the conflict between invasive powers and indigenous populations. His selection and calculated juxtaposition of freeze-framed images makes White Man's Tales an unsettling commentary on the effects of Western expansionism. Very nice. And here's one of the pictures that I haven't shown you. This one I was particularly pleased with. This was taken in Vietnam, this piece of work, very large piece, diptych, huge, about 28 feet across. And that's the Red River crossing, which the Americans bombed the bridge throughout the war in Vietnam, but was repaired overnight. And in fact next to it is the village, right next to the bridge, the Long Bien Bridge, is a village which itself rebuilt itself every night, and I've put it up as a sort of like a quilt of images. All makes up this view of the you see from the bank of this village, temporary village below. And I even got images such as this one. You might think, what's that got to do with it? Well, a lot, because I argue in the catalogue that Japan, the war against Japan, or Japan against America, has its roots in America's invasion in the 1840s of Japan, when it forced it open for trade, Commodore Perry's expedition. And these were the on here is one of the Zero fighters aimed at an American aircraft carrier, the suicide attack. And I made it from photographing the Yukasan Shrine in Tokyo with these lurid panoramas of Japanese Zero fighters, which are then cut up into and just made into the shape of the plane. And there are other ones here, like this one here of another suicide boat, in this case, an underwater boat, submarine, one-man submarine, that had the same effect for sinking ships. And there's another one here in Hanoi of a B-52 and captured armoured car, crashed B-52, which has pride of place in the middle of a square in Hanoi. But anyway, so this show was going, you went to Durban in South Africa, and after being in America, and was then going on to Johannesburg and Durban, and in Cape Town and Port Elizabeth. But just before it was due to go to Port Elizabeth, our daughter, who was 2.5 at the time, was complaining about sore legs and things. So I took her to the doctor, and the doctor says nothing wrong with her, I don't think. This is the night before I flew to South Africa to install the show. And anyway, to get a long story short, she was diagnosed with childhood leukemia and was taken into Great Ormond Street Hospital. And we had about 2 or 3 years of hell on that. And as for the show, well, I'm afraid they did put it up in Port Elizabeth from faxed instructions from Great Ormond Street Hospital I sent. But after that I pulled the show. And so this exhibition, the first major exhibition I'd had since I'd been in America, one-person show, I'm afraid hit the deck, because this was not important anymore. And as for Hattie, my daughter, she liked days out from Great Ormond Street by being taken to the British Museum, and she loved the Egyptian collection, so I made this piece of work, which is one of the most important pieces of work I've made, and here it is. And she's standing in the middle, there she is, no hair, and she's standing in front of that effigy, which has no head, and in front of there's two columns where they've got the, see the hair there carved. I actually had photographed those in Egypt at Abba Symbol to make this piece of work, and it's called Egyptian Hattie, and there she is, that little girl there. And I made a little song for her, which I've done for all my children, about her walking, because she couldn't walk. She had got sore legs, or yegs as you call them. And I did this. There's a Hattie walking down the street. There's a Hattie walking on her feet. There's a Hattie walking down the street. There's a Hattie walking down the street. There's a Hattie walking me to greet. There's a Hattie walking down the street. Well, that was Hattie then, and this is Hattie now.